Hi, this is Mark Struthers. Today we'd like to talk about securing your future as a medical imaging technologist through education and skills upgrades. Let's take a look at protocols that you need to know how to utilize today. Remember, it's 2023. What's the didactic or formal curricula for X-ray training? The first radiography curriculum was written in 1952 by the ASRT. The ASRT updates and revises its curricula on a 5-year cycle, and the last adaptation was in 2022. So we're current in 2022 with the latest curricula. The ASRT curricula sets the didactic and clinical goals to learn for medical imaging. It should be noted that the ASRT has no statutory authority to mandate that educational programs comply with the content of an official ASRT curriculum. The education for medical imaging technologists has evolved over time to keep pace with rapid advancements in technology and the changing needs of the healthcare industry. The ASRT was founded in 1920, and it provides members with educational opportunities, promotes radiologic technology as a career, and monitors state and federal legislation that affects the presentation. The ASRT is also responsible for establishing standards of practice for the radiologic science profession and developing educational curricula. Today, we know that healthcare organizations are facing a shortage of qualified staff. When thinking about staffing, it would be good to look at the famously stated quote from Charles Darwin, which said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." It can be hard for staff to keep up with ever-changing improvements in software interfaces, as well as understand and utilize the interface advancements designed to save time and steps. Additionally, you might have new staff members who never fully trained on your equipment, or current staff that do not optimize the use of the equipment. Being able to use all of the equipment and ancillary equipment that you have at hand for protocol-driven X-ray examinations using AI is important for the patient, the technologist, the healthcare provider, and the healthcare system. Back in the 50s, you might have needed a GED and have to be over 18 to work with medical imaging. Today, the criteria has changed. Here we see a typical advertisement for a new radiographer position. When we see hiring, we're looking for a minimum diploma, bachelor's degree in medical imaging radiography, preferred over an associate's degree. You should be able to perform radiographic examinations in general or advanced imaging modalities, so you're multimodality certified. We'd like at least 6 years of working experience in hospital setting, and it's required for this position. The blended world of machines and humans is already upon us, and it's only going to accelerate. Even though there is a shortage of technologists, you're going to have a tough time getting jobs if you don't upgrade your knowledge and technical skill. This is going to take time, effort, and dedication. Barring a neuroscience advance that enables us to embed knowledge and skills directly into the brain tissue and muscle formation, there will be no quantum leap in your ability to upskill people that have not put in the time and effort. Diagnostic radiography professionals typically enter the field with a 2-year associate degree and an ASRT certification and state license. Training consists of classroom instruction in human anatomy and physics that underlie X-ray technology, as well as hands-on clinical experience. Medical imaging demands a learning environment in which skills can constantly evolve through continuous learning. Today we have program-driven auto positioning and auto tracking digital X-ray systems. This is just the tip of the iceberg for artificial intelligence. Today's jobs are vastly different than they were a generation ago. In fact, if we take a look way back, remember radiology first started around 1895. In fact, here's an image of old Conrad Wilhelm Röntgen and the Röntgen 4. I guess you can say it appears that technology has changed. Today we have artificial intelligence incorporated into the X-ray room, giving us auto positioning and auto tracking. Given the technological advances and the need for informatics training as well as computer training and technology training for new modalities, it's obvious that we need to keep up with today's ever-changing field of medical imaging. In addition to our original training, in 2023 there are other skills that we need to be successful in medical imaging. This list shows 8 additional skills that will be beneficial for the medical imaging technologist in 2023. They range from analytical and creative thinking to empathy and active listening. The millennials, those born from 1981 to 96, are replacing the baby boomer generation, which was born in 1946 through 1964. The majority of people that are working as technologists range from the age of 20 to 69. And if we take a look at the graphics, you'll notice that the baby boomers in the 51 to 69 are turning the reins over to Generation X, the millennials. These age groups each have their own idea about work and what they should be doing. The new employees will probably be with the Generation Z group or in the millennial group. And there are differences besides their birth years. They have different cultural touch points. They have different finances. They also have different work habits. Just for discussion, let's take a look at some of the cultural touch points in tech life that they've experienced. The Generation Z has no memory of 9/11 and grew up with America's first black president, while the millennials, 9/11 was a defining moment, and they helped to select the first black president. We can think about the millennials as being the aged worker now and the Generation Z being the new kids on the block. And there's a big difference in their cultural touch points and the technology that they grew up with. Let's compare Generation Z and the millennials because they'll be making up the bulk of the workforce. Add in the baby boomers and you can see why it's hard to integrate these groups. Let's look at the millennial generation and some stereotypes. Most of the stereotypes are not complimentary if you're a baby boomer. But if you look at it from their generation, they have a better work-life balance, and that's what matters. So it may be easier to get them to train for a career because they need security. As a medical imaging technologist, they'll have high pay and good security and great benefits. Now we look at Generation Z, the new hires that are coming on board. Crucially, the research also found younger workers and their employers have misaligned expectations around flexibility, money, and support, leading to dissatisfied employees and high turnover. This means it's going to be a generation that is both hard to train and hard to retain. The fact that changing jobs is one of the easiest ways for Gen Z workers to take a step up in their career or pay bracket is a key reason they job hop. To retain this group of employees, what we're going to need to do to hold on to them is provide more stable jobs, better career opportunities, and higher pay. This group, the Gen Z group, has an advantage over the millennials in that they appear to be more realistic instead of optimistic and are more likely to be career-minded. Unlike the millennials who consider work-life balance to be something of a perk, Gen Z sees it as a baseline expectation. 40% say that it's an important career goal. To train and retain this group, we're going to have to demonstrate the value of a career in medical imaging technology. The top priority for this group is that they're in their mid to late 20s and they want to know if their job aligns with their career goals. 51% of Gen Z employees say their education has not prepared them to enter the workforce because of the pandemic and falling behind in academics. I doubt you'd find very few from the baby boomer generation or the millennial generation that would disagree with that. Since medical imaging technologists require people that have good scientific abilities and communication abilities, it will be difficult to train and retain these folks. But with the shortage of personnel, that is one of the big challenges for today, 2023. To compensate for their lack of many things, Gen Z has one thing that they're great at, and that's technology. And remember, medical imaging has a lot to do with technology. As a society, we still send our children through a fixed set of primary and secondary education steps. Only now, a college degree has been added on as a virtual prerequisite for the best jobs. The model doesn't actually prepare anyone well for a flexible world in which skills are typically outdated by the time you finish a 4-year degree. The way most people perform these jobs is still stuck in the previous century, as is the way our society is training and educating these people. Today is not the most qualified of the species that will survive, nor the most skilled. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. There is a metaphor that says you're not going to turn yourself from a coal miner into a data miner overnight, but you can acquire basic skills leading in the direction you want to go. Take charge of your future now and start working on acquiring the skills you will need to have 5 years from now. Understand where you stand along the half-life of your skill sets and assess your depreciated value today. The half-life of a job skill is about 5 years, meaning that every 5 years that skill is about half as valuable as it was before. And you want to get ahead of that before your value declines. Tie that in with the technological evolution in medical imaging, and you can see we have a real dilemma. It's up to today's technologists to mentor the technologists of the future. Having an idea about the different generations and their attitudes, including your own, will help you to mentor and train the technologists of tomorrow. Everyone wants to be successful.